Imagine two people, both earn exactly the same salary, both receive their paycheck on the same day, both grew up in similar neighborhoods. 5 years later, one has investments, emergency savings, and is preparing to buy a home. The other owns the newest iPhone, designer shoes, expensive watches, and a luxury car they can barely afford. One is quietly becoming wealthy. The other only looks wealthy. Here's the strange part. The difference isn't intelligence. It isn't luck. And it isn't even income. It's psychology. Because most people don't buy expensive things for the reasons they think they do. In fact, many expensive purchases have almost nothing to do with needing the product. They have everything to do with what that product says about us. And once you understand why your brain craves status more than security, you'll start seeing money and your own decisions in a completely different way. Welcome to Cootie Wealth Creation, where we explore the hidden psychology behind money, success, and the habits that quietly shape our financial future. If you've ever wondered why some people build wealth while others stay trapped chasing the appearance of it, you're in the right place. Meet Daniel. Daniel is 27 years old. He earns a decent salary, nothing extraordinary, but enough to live comfortably. Every month he tells himself the same thing. This month, I'm going to save. Then something happens. A new smartphone launches. His favorite influencer posts a video. His friends start talking about it. Suddenly, his perfectly working phone feels old. Nothing about the phone has changed. It still calls. It still sends messages. It still takes great pictures. But inside Daniel's mind, everything has changed. Because he isn't comparing the phone to what he needs. He's comparing himself to everyone else. Within a week, he's standing in a store, swiping his credit card, walking out with a phone that costs nearly 2 months of his salary. For a moment, he feels incredible, confident, successful, important. But that feeling doesn't last. A few weeks later, the excitement fades. The monthly payments remain. Now he feels pressure, stress, anxiety. So what does he do? He starts looking for the next thing that might make him feel successful again. Another pair of shoes, a luxury watch, designer clothes, a better car. Without realizing it, Daniel has entered a cycle that millions of people around the world experience every single day. And it has a name. Psychologists call this hedonic adaptation. It's the tendency for humans to quickly become accustomed to improvements in their lives. That new purchase creates a burst of excitement. But your brain adapts remarkably fast. What felt extraordinary yesterday becomes normal today, which means your happiness resets. Then your brain starts searching for the next upgrade, the next purchase, the next thrill. It's like trying to fill a bucket with a hole in the bottom. No matter how much you pour in, it never stays full. Companies understand this better than most people realize. That's why every year there's a new phone, a new fashion trend, a limited edition, a must-have. The goal isn't simply to sell you a product. The goal is to make your current life feel incomplete. Because dissatisfaction creates demand. The real question. But here's something even more fascinating. If expensive things don't provide lasting happiness, why do so many people, especially those with the least financial freedom, feel the strongest urge to buy them? The answer isn't found in economics. It's found in evolution. Long before humans used money, our survival depended on our place within the group. Status wasn't about luxury. Status meant protection, resources, opportunities. The higher your status, the better your chances of survival. Thousands of years later, our environment has changed, but our brains haven't changed nearly as much. Today, we no longer compete with spears and hunting skills. We compete with cars, phones, clothes, vacations, social media, luxury brands. And every time we see someone who appears more successful than us, an ancient part of the brain quietly whispers, "Catch up." The problem is, that voice doesn't care whether catching up makes you richer. It only cares whether you look like you're keeping pace. And that's where the wealth trap begins. But this is only half the story, because the people who become truly wealthy often do something that looks completely irrational to everyone else. Here's the uncomfortable truth. When someone buys a luxury watch, they're rarely buying a watch. When someone spends thousands on designer shoes, they're rarely buying shoes. And when someone finances a luxury car they can barely afford, they're not just buying transportation, they're buying a feeling, respect, recognition, acceptance, status. The product is simply the vehicle. The emotion is what they're really paying for. Luxury brands have understood this for decades. They don't sell leather. They don't sell metal. They don't sell fabric. They sell identity. They quietly whisper, "This is who successful people are." And without realizing it, millions of people begin spending money trying to become the person they believe the product represents. The brain wants approval. Have you ever noticed something strange? A compliment from someone else often feels better than buying the item itself. You buy a new phone. It's exciting. But what makes it even more satisfying? Someone notices. Wow, you got the new one? Your brain lights up, not because of the phone, because of the approval. Humans are deeply social creatures. For thousands of years, belonging to the group increased our chances of survival. Being admired meant influence. Being accepted meant protection. Today, your brain still chases that same feeling, only now. It looks for it in shopping malls instead of tribal villages. Let's meet Sarah. Sarah earns almost exactly the same income as Daniel, but she lives very differently. She drives a 10-year-old car. She uses her phone until it actually stops working. She wears simple clothes. Most people assume she's struggling financially. Some even feel sorry for her. What they don't know is that every month Sarah quietly invests part of her income, year after year, without posting about it, without announcing it, without trying to impress anyone. Slowly, her investments begin earning money. Then those earnings begin earning money. And over time, the snowball becomes enormous. While Daniel is collecting expensive receipts, Sarah is collecting appreciating assets. This surprises many people. Research has consistently shown that many millionaires don't look like millionaires at all. They're your quiet neighbor, the woman driving an older car, the man wearing an ordinary t-shirt at the grocery store, the family that rarely posts luxury vacations online. Real wealth often hides. Because wealth and luxury aren't the same thing. Luxury is what people see. Wealth is what people don't see. A luxury car parked outside doesn't tell you how much money someone has. It only tells you what they're driving today. An investment account quietly growing for 20 years. That's wealth. But nobody can photograph it. Nobody can admire it at a traffic light. And that's exactly why so few people chase it. Now add social media to the equation. Every day, you're exposed to hundreds of carefully selected moments. Luxury vacations, expensive restaurants, designer clothes, new cars, perfect homes, perfect lives. What you don't see are the credit card bills, the loans, the financial stress, the sleepless nights. Social media has created a world where appearances travel faster than reality. Your brain doesn't compare itself to the average person anymore. It compares itself to everyone's highlight reel, and that comparison quietly changes how you spend. Economists sometimes describe this as a race with no finish line. Imagine your neighbor buys a luxury SUV. At first, you don't care. But over time, your old car starts feeling smaller. Not because anything changed about your car, but because someone else's life changed. Soon, you upgrade. Then another neighbor upgrades. Then someone buys a bigger house. Someone else buys a luxury vacation. The finish line keeps moving. No matter how fast you run, someone is always ahead. If your happiness depends on catching them, you'll spend your entire life exhausted. People who build lasting wealth ask very different questions. Instead of asking, will people be impressed? They ask, will this improve my future? Instead of asking, can I afford the monthly payment? They ask, what is this money worth if I invest it instead? Instead of buying things to signal success, they buy assets that quietly create it. They understand something most people never do. Every dollar has two possible jobs. It can impress people today or work for you tomorrow. It can rarely do both. Imagine holding $1,000 in your hand. You could buy the newest phone, or you could invest it. One decision gives you attention for a few weeks. The other gives you opportunities for years. Neither decision feels dramatic in the moment. That's the trick. Wealth isn't usually built through spectacular choices. It's built through ordinary decisions, repeated hundreds of times. But there's one final reason poor people often buy expensive things, and it has nothing to do with money. It begins in childhood, long before anyone earns their first paycheck, long before anyone owns a credit card. The beliefs we develop about money as children quietly shape almost every financial decision we make as adults. And once you see these hidden money stories, you'll never look at spending the same way again. What if I told you that many of your money decisions were made long before you earned your first paycheck, long before you owned a bank account, long before you even understood what money was? Because every child grows up with a story about money. Some hear, money doesn't grow on trees. Others hear, rich people are greedy. Some grow up watching their parents argue over bills. Others grow up believing that success must always be visible. Those moments may seem small, but over time, they become beliefs, and beliefs quietly become habits. Daniel didn't buy expensive things because he loved phones. He bought them because, somewhere deep inside, he believed expensive things made people successful. He wasn't buying a device. He was buying confidence, approval, belonging. The phone simply became the symbol. That's how emotional spending works. We think we're purchasing an object, but we're often trying to satisfy an emotional need. The invisible question before almost every unnecessary purchase. Your brain asks one silent question. How will this make me feel? Not, will this improve my financial future? If the answer is, I'll look more successful, I'll fit in, they'll admire me. Your emotions can easily overpower your logic. And marketers know this. That's why advertisements rarely focus on the product. They focus on the life you imagine having after you buy it. People who build lasting wealth also feel temptation. They aren't immune. The difference is, they pause. Instead of asking, can I buy this? They ask, what will this cost me 5 years from now? Not just in money, but in missed opportunities. Every unnecessary purchase has a hidden price. Not the price on the receipt. The opportunities you gave up, the investment that never happened, the business that never started, the financial freedom that arrived years later than it could have. People often believe wealth is built by avoiding small pleasures. That's only part of the story. Skipping one coffee won't make you rich. Buying one expensive phone won't make you poor. Real wealth is shaped by patterns, small decisions, repeated over years. That's why financial habits matter more than financial hacks. Your future is rarely decided by one purchase. It's decided by thousands of ordinary choices. The wealth equation. Imagine two people again. Daniel spends $1,000 every year trying to look successful. Sarah invests that same amount every year. The first year, the difference seems tiny. 5 years later, it's noticeable. 10 years later, it's significant. 20 years later, their lives barely resemble each other. Not because one earned more, but because one bought appearances, while the other bought time. People often think luxury means sports cars, designer watches, private jets. But ask someone who has spent years trapped in debt what real luxury looks like. They'll probably say, sleeping peacefully, not worrying about the next bill, being able to leave a toxic job, helping your family without borrowing money, owning your time. That's the kind of wealth no brand can sell. Here's the irony. The people most desperate to look rich often stay poor. The people least interested in looking rich often become wealthy. Because real wealth grows quietly. It doesn't need applause. It doesn't need likes. It doesn't need validation. Money is a wonderful servant, but a terrible costume. When you stop buying things to impress strangers, you finally begin investing in the person you'll become. Years later, Daniel met Sarah again. She still drove a simple car. She still dressed modestly. Nothing about her appearance screamed millionaire. Then Daniel learned something surprising. Sarah had paid off her home. She owned investments. She had enough savings to take a year off work if she wanted. She wasn't rich because she earned more. She was rich because she needed less. That day, Daniel finally understood. The wealth he had been chasing had never been found in the shopping mall. It had been growing quietly, inside choices no one could see. The next time you're about to buy something expensive, pause for just a moment. Ask yourself one question. Am I buying this to improve my life or to improve someone else's opinion of me? The answer might change your future. If this video changed the way you think about money, subscribe to Cootie Wealth Creation. Every week, we uncover the hidden psychology behind money, success, and the habits that quietly shape your future. Because the greatest investment you'll ever make isn't in the stock market, it's in the way you think. I'll see you in the next video.